I'd like to welcome all of you to our city council meeting. We always like to see in particular young faces in the crowd. So thank you to our scouts, and I assume that you're here for extra credit in high school government or good luck. Okay. Well, welcome you. For the record, it is Tuesday, October 20th. It's 2 minutes after 6. We'll start with roll call attendance. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Mylum. Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Here.
Councilmember Borton.
Here.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Here.
Mayor DeVeard.
Here. Item number 2 is a Pledge of Allegiance. If you all rise and join us in the pledge to our flag. Number 3 is our community invocation. Tonight will be led by Pastor Troy Drake. He is with Calvary Chapel. I would invite you to join us in the community invocation or take this as an opportunity for a moment of reflection. Again, always nice to see you.
You too, Mayor and council members. Well, let's pray. Lord God in heaven, I just wanted to acknowledge in this brief prayer time here that you are good. And we just thank you for your kindness and your grace towards human beings, and that we have it here tonight, Lord, and also that you are greater than all the nations and governments of earth. And God, that we can look to you for the answers, that we don't have to trust in mankind. And Lord, we also just thank you that for your wisdom, and that you're more wise than anyone or anything. And Lord, I just pray for tonight that you would just grant your wisdom and goodness to these servants of ours, elected officials, so that they can make decisions that are based on true and good and righteous things. And lastly, Lord, I just want to pray for our city tonight, those servants who watch over things, the police and fire and so forth, and God, you keep them safe, as well as all of the citizens of Meridian. We thank you for this great town that we have, and we pray that you would just bless it, Lord. And last, God, I just also pray for those who are hurting and hopeless in our city, and that they would find you in your grace, God. So thank you ahead of time for what you're going to do tonight and for these precious people. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Bless you guys.
Thank you. Item number 4 is adoption of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Roundtree.
I move that we approve the agenda with the following additions. Item 7A has been requested to continue to November 17th, and item 7C has been requested to continue until October 27th. And item 9A, the ordinance number is 15-1663. And with those additions, Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to
Again.
approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 5 is our consent agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Roundtree.
move that we approve the consent agenda as published, authorizing the clerk to attest and the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 6A is under our Meridian Arts Commission, and so I'll ask Hillary to join us.
Hi there.
Hi.
I've got a picture to hand out to all of you. So this is kind of a special request from the Meridian Arts Commission. Back in the spring, West Ada had an art show called Framed, and that's where they selected the majority of their artworks to be wrapped on traffic boxes. This art that you're looking at now is called Happy Elephant, and it's by Andrew Clifford. And unfortunately, when the Arts Commission panel that brought this to the Arts Commission quorum to approve traffic box wraps, one of the commissioners noted that it is a replica of a Disney artifact. It's an animatronic elephant that Disney has. And so in effort to mitigate any potential conflict with intellectual property rights, the Arts Commission decided that we wouldn't pursue obtaining those rights. And we sent a letter to Andrew Clifford notifying him that he would receive the Community Art Award, but that he wouldn't be offered a traffic box wrap. And it was really hard for the Meridian Arts Commission to make that decision because they really like the artwork, and it's really, really a good example of Andrew Clifford's work. So what happened was when we notified Andrew Clifford, he called back and asked if he could contact Disney himself and see if he could obtain rights to use his artwork on a traffic box. So this is in front of you now because he obtained permission from Disney. He wrote to Disney, made contact, set up a meeting with Emily Kane and I, and we asked some clarifying questions, and he followed up with Disney. He's 16 years old, so it's really incredible that he did what we thought was undoable, like that we couldn't do it. Disney's a big entity, and we're really proud that he was able to take the initiative to get this done. So we have both his letters that he sent to Disney and Disney's letters that they sent in response to him, giving him permission to use this as a traffic box art. Our big concern for the first letter was that they didn't want the art published online. And so we said, we can't control the public. We can't control what people take pictures of. People will probably take pictures of this box because it's a cool picture. So that's what he wrote to clarify about, and they said, we understand it's a public piece and you have our permission to use it, but they just asked that they don't want their name on it. They don't want to be really associated with it, but they give him permission to use it. So this hasn't come in front of you before because we didn't think that we'd be able to do it. But Andrew Clifford came back to the Meridian Arts Commission and asked that they reconsider wrapping it for their fiscal year 2016. And Mac was really happy that he was so successful, and they approved for it to be recommended to you guys for a wrap in 2016. So it's kind of a special case, but we think a worthy one.
That is phenomenal.
And I invited him, but he had a swim meet, so he was going to try to get here really quickly after his swim meet. So he might end up walking in a little later. But
Well, what tenacity on behalf of this young artist. So, council, any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Milam.
Well, Hillary, I'm so happy about this
Yes.
because this was one of my absolute favorite pieces at the art show, and I was devastated when they made the decision not to put it up. So, great news. I'd like to meet this young man because I'm really impressed with him. So, both his art and his his ability to get that done. So,
he's been incredible. If he doesn't make it here tonight, I'll let him know that he's welcome back another time. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Any other comments?
need a
Madam
motion.
Mayor.
Council, yes, Mr. Kevner.
I echo Councilwoman Milam's comments. Just a question where we made initial plans to wrap a certain amount of boxes and he wasn't included. We've got the budget dollars set aside to include this extra wrap.
Yes, our initial plan actually took account for the more expensive wrap quote that we got for our initial wrap. So we're now using a vendor that's a local vendor and that wraps for a much more affordable price, and so it fits in our budget.
Happy ending to a great story. Excellent to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hillary.
Everything sounds good about this one,
Boy,
right?
It's a great story. It's
Miss-
a great story for a weekly newspaper to cover.
And a great picture, too. Madam Mayor.
Ms. Milam.
Well, I move that we approve the art wrap recommendation for Happy Elephant by Andrew Clifford.
Second.
I have a motion and a couple of seconds to approve this item. Madam Clerk,
love
will you
it.
call
Take
roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Milam.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Huh?
All ayes, motion carried. Thank you,
You all.
Hillary. Item 7A is a public hearing that has been requested to continue to November 17th. I will open the public hearing on H-2015-0002. I guess I do have a question regarding this request. By putting it out another month, it looks like it's to request a 2-year time extension. Has that extension already expired, or are
September.
they doing it earlier than most?
So, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we just require that the application be in before the
Okay.
plat expires. So they are in and were submitted before the plat expired. So continuing it out for a month or whatever that is won't affect the expiration.
Okay. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
and the reason he asked for this time extension was medical reasons, so.
Yes.
I move we continue H 2015-0002 to November 17th, 2015.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue item 7A to November 17th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 7B is the next item. It's not a public hearing.
Evening,
So
Madam Mayor,
final
members of the
plat.
council. This is Hacienda subdivision number 5. This is the final phase of the Hacienda South subdivision. It consists of 49 residential lots, 5 common lots on approximately 9.51 acres in the R8 zoning district. This final plat is consistent with what was approved for the preliminary plat in open space and in the number of lots. Staff is recommending approval. Stand for any questions.
The only question, this isn't on the consent agenda because we didn't hear from the applicant in time.
Correct. We actually just heard from them this afternoon finally, so that's why it wasn't put on the consent.
Okay, so another question to put you on the spot.
Sure.
What's with the numbering?
New system.
What happened to FP?
It's a new system. They told us about it
Oh.
a month or two ago.
One number for all the actions.
Okay.
It-
Council,
As
do
I
you
re-
have any questions of the applicants on this
I
item?
was going to comment, as I recall, it was because the old system, you couldn't connect the different applications that may have come in parallel, and
What it was, was it
this is a new way
F, or
to
was it A?
But I
keep
think
annexations and plats and
But you had a,
CUPs together.
the nicer thing about the old system, and it's not like you can't treat
Easy.
or teach old dogs new tricks, but at least you knew if it was a final plat, if it was a preliminary plat, you had a better idea of what it was without reading the description.
Madam Mayor,
second.
Yes.
we're trying to format it so you can see that. So if you can see, we've underlined what it is under each item, but if you have any suggestions for how you want to see it on the agendas, we're open and we're happy to make it easier. That's just what we thought worked, but if it doesn't, let us know what you think will work and we can change it.
Just remember, old dog, new trick. Okay, council, any questions on this? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
I move that we approve 7B H-2015-0003.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 7B. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borden?
for the purpose of the new numbering system, do our motions, or maybe this is to Bill,
Oh, I need to have
need
it.
to include this, then the specific reference to final plat,
Right,
annexation,
probably
et
does.
cetera?
Madam Member, Councilmember Horton, yes.
Okay.
Since there's only one item here, it's probably not
Sure.
necessary, but in the future, yes.
Yes, the number.
Just the specific items that
Final
we were
plat.
intending, you would either make them, you can make a motion as a whole, or you can make them individually and identify. the
State that in the
specific item.
text of the motion,
Yes.
okay.
But now we can approve. them
See,
together.
it's all on you. Okay, Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 7C is a final plat on H 2015-0004.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
if we don't have any questions or anything.
Well, I would just ask the staff to present it, and then I will. Right.
They want to continue.
You want to continue, and as Mr. Byrd had stated on the earlier one, the reason for the request, do we know why this was
So, Madam Mayor, I can
continued?
help a little bit with that. This final plat came in with an exceedance of the requirement for the first phase. There was a cap of 40 lots, and they submitted 48 lots. So we're waiting for a revised final plat that has the 40 or less lots in this first phase as required with the preliminary plat. So it's inconsistent right now with the preliminary plat condition. So
Nice job. Okay. Mr. Byrd.
Madam Mayor, I move we continue H 2015-0004 to October 27th, 2015 for the reasons stated by Planning Director.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the continuance of this item 7C to October 27th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
All ayes. Oh, delayed on that
I
side.
think the circuit in my hearing aid must have gotten longer or something like that. It's taken me longer to hear things.
Sure. Council, it looks like maybe Andrew Clifford is here. Is he? Andrew, come on forward. I guess we did want to acknowledge you and your tenacity and pursuing the permission from Disney to bring this to one of our traffic boxes. I would love to congratulate you, and I know the council wanted to acknowledge your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
also I got a lot of help and encouragement from Miss Hillary Bodner and Mrs. Emily Kane during this process of getting permission from Disney. So I'm very excited that it passed. So thank you.
Well, we are too, and I know Councilmember Milam mentioned that this was her all-time favorite, so you made her day.
We have some
Great
folks
job.
that need convincing as well. Maybe we could hire you to help us out.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us after, did you have a swim meet
I
tonight?
did, yes. I just
How'd
got
you
out.
do?
Yeah.
Well, we hope you won.
Good. Yes, thank
Good.
you.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Great job.
Thank you, Ms. Milam.
I'm getting bossy today.
I know. I'll have JC do it. Okay, item 7 or 8A is under department reports. I'll turn this over to our legal department.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Council, I know you like to have these types of discussions on ordinance revisions at your workshop, but we were a little booked up last week, and so I thought we'd bring this forward this week. This is not a drastic change to our ordinance structure, but basically what you have in front of you, and I've handed out a revised copy that has some yellow highlights on it, and there's a couple of things that have even been amended since then. One is there's a typographical error on the first page, and we have fixed that. But basically what's in front of you is to create a standardized format for all of our commissions and to create a clearer definition in our code as to what the purpose of a commission is, how they're formed, and what the purpose of a committee can be and how they're formed. And that way there'd be no question sometimes between what's a commission and what's a committee. And the committee is used sort of as a collective term for boards, for task forces, for coalitions, for other types of groups that aren't the formalized structure of the commission process. The reason so what you'll have in front of you is what we did is we restructured the code, so the reason when you're looking at this, it isn't in a format you've seen before, which is that strikeout and underline format, is because we took the entire code and are asking to replace it with this code. And what you have in the first section is basically the definition of commissions. There's an appointment section. that basically allows all the commissions to be of same size, which means it can be up to 9. We have varying amounts of size of commissions. Some of them are up to 9. Some have a minimum requirement. Some have a fixed number of 5. Some have a fixed number of 6. And so we felt it was more important that they all be very similar in type, because again, we're looking for public participation, and if there are people that are interested that want to participate, we want to be sure they had the opportunity to do so. Most of the language is either currently in the city code or taken from the state code. For example, there's a term limit requirement in the state code and an amount that can be for planning and zoning commissions, so that's identified here. It is separated in our current city code for youth commissioners to serve 1-year terms. All the rest would be 3-year terms. Currently, the Planning and Zoning Commission has a 6-year term. Sometimes that's kind of daunting to people to participate, to have a 6-year term in front of them. But the state code minimum is 3, so it can be the same as every other commission. All of our other commissions are currently 3. On reappointments and expirations of terms, currently it's done in kind of the traditional way of doing it is we do provide it to the public if they have an interest in participating in a commission opening. This just codifies that, saying every time a commission opening occurs, we would notify the public so that, again, if there's interested people in our community that want to participate, they would know. We put some successive terms on there too, because sometimes, again, it's good to get some changeover, but we also want to make sure that if you have long-term commissioners that the mayor and the council want to continue, that there's a mechanism to do it. What I did was I took the section in the state code that's exactly the same in regards to planning and zoning commission. What it says in the state code is that the planning and zoning commissioners can only serve 2 terms, successive terms, unless they are retained by 2/3 of the governing board. Well, 2/3 of your board is a majority of the board. That's the same number. So that seems kind of inconsistent. That's why we changed that to unanimous, that, again, if the board, if the council wants the commissioners to remain, they can. It would just require a unanimous vote of all of the council. A termination clause. This one I've added from what you've seen, and this is really, we have one of the comments back that we received in regards to commissions is occasionally we have some commissioners that for varieties of reasons can't participate or come to the meetings, either based on their job or their work life or personal life or whatever. And we're not, I guess, looking at that as anything that we want to pass any judgment on, but again, you want people to participate and be there. So I just picked the number as half. I mean, if that's adequate, if that's too much to miss. But what I did in crafting the termination clause was it didn't come back to you all to have to vote on it a second time. We felt that if somebody missed half of the meetings, then we really would just notify them that their appointment's terminated. So that way we could then advertise for a new position, a new opening, and restart the process. Again, if half is too many, that's partly what the discussion is for. If you want it to be less than that. We felt right now some commissions operate kind of informally after 2 or 3 absences. There's usually been a conversation sometimes with the chair and the members saying, do you really want to be here? We really need people. Sometimes it can be a quorum issue for some of the commissions because someone can't be here very often. So trying to figure out what's the happy medium between excused absences based on things that are kind of out of their control, as well as people that just can't be here for a reason that's, something that they just don't have the time or the ability to come. That's why I came up with half. Again, whatever your desire is fine. The committees, again, are a little bit less formal because the committees, under the way the code is structured, if it's a committee that's not formed by a legislative act, so it's not formed by an ordinance, it has that informal nature to it. It's really for a specific function or a specific charge. Like, for example, a few years ago with our precious metals issue, we had some interested citizens that wanted to be a part of that. We formed a committee to do that so that they could kind of vet out the concerns that were had. It wasn't meant to be a long-lasting. It was meant for one specific purpose. It got done, and then we moved on. If you look at the sections on the commissions themselves, all of the language in there is what's already in your code. So there's nothing new for most of the commissions, but I'll highlight what I've changed. Some of the commissions, there's a section on their budget. Some of our commissions are able to receive funds from other sources. The Arts Commission receives donations. The Planning and Zoning Commission under state law has the ability, if you provide them a budget, to use that budget to hire people to assist them with their work. We haven't ever had that need, but the state code does allow that. We also, the Parks Commission, or excuse me, the Parks Commission can receive funds from other sources, and the Solid Waste Commission can receive funds from the recycling program. So I want to make sure it was clear in the budgetary section that they can receive funds, but again, it's always comes back through you. It has to follow the city's policies. They have to follow the city's rules in regards to how they're expended. And if they are managed by a department, then the department is responsible for it. If they don't have a specific department they're attached to, they have a designated city liaison for each commission that is responsible for the processing of the expenditures or receiving of funds. So that language is a little different than what you may have seen in some of the others. The only other one that asks for a couple of changes in regards to their duties in the Parks Commission, there is items 10 and 11. The old plan said comprehensive plan. Their new plan is called a master plan. So it just changed the language to meet what the new language is going to be. And then number 11 just talked about the city's comprehensive plan, but it didn't make reference to the other things we have, pathways and downtown plans and 10-mile plans and those things. So it just tries to include that anything related to Parks and Recreation are things that go to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Everything else, I believe, again, is the same. We didn't include any adjustments to the Board of Adjustment because that's a very specific purpose board for very specific types of issues, and we didn't see a need to change that specifically. And the only other thing I will point out is in the committee language, it indicated that it doesn't apply to the Impact Fee Committee. And again, that's specifically because the state code governs how the Impact Fee Committee is managed and handled. And it's actually in a completely different section of our code. So I didn't want a future person reading it and mixing up the two. So those are really the changes. That was the purpose that we're bringing it for you. And if you have other changes or anything else you'd like us to do before we bring it forward, or we can bring it forward at any point you direct.
Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Zaremba.
I had a couple of typos that I marked that I will give to you
Okay,
to do,
thank you.
but I had two subjects that I actually wanted to ask a question about. One of them is in Chapter 1, 211 Commissions, A3. Says the City Council may eliminate any commission at any time by repealing the commission's enabling ordinance. That actually isn't true of P&Z. I think you alluded to the fact that that's a state requirement. It could be the council that is the P&Z. In some smaller cities it is, but is that what the unless different procedure is required by Idaho code is addressing, that you can't eliminate P&Z?
Yes.
Could
Yeah,
we be?
Councilmember Zaremba, that's exactly what that provision was for.
Okay.
And you can eliminate the P&Z entirely if you want to be the commission. So it isn't that the council becomes the commission. You actually are eliminating a planning and zoning commission when you do that. You're just become the commission. So it's a nuancedly different, but yeah, that was the purpose of that language.
I thought when that happened, the city council had to close their meeting and open a new one as the P&Z commission.
They do not. They would just
Okay.
become the commission.
All right. All right, so that covers that one. And then, let's see, still in commissions, 211B3, compensation. All commission members and the officers shall serve without salary or compensation. My question on that one is, several of the commissions and boards list staff members or city council people as members of the commission, even if they're ex officio. On the Board of Adjustment, they're not ex officio. They actually are members. So I would like to suggest something, and it doesn't have to be worded exactly this way, but let's discuss whether this is necessary. I would add a sentence that says, where members are designated to be city council, city staff, or staff of another government agency, such members' regular pay shall not be reduced or enhanced due to service on the commission or board or coalition or whatever. you know, so that they don't have to be docked pay to serve on it, or they don't get extra pay. It shouldn't affect their regular pay. So I have some wording here, but I'd want to ask whether
I get it what he's saying.
we should include that.
It could become fuzzy.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Zerber, I mean, certainly I have no problem in adding it. I mean, currently, the commission that has staff members as members of the commission, they don't receive any additional compensation for being part of that. But I think you're right, it's clarity that
I wouldn't want
it isn't
somebody
a
to
part
come
of it.
along from the public and say, okay, you're on this commission, you need to be docked your pay during the time that you're on that
Totally
commission.
understand, so I can certainly add that language.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
I'll-
are you done, David? Sorry.
I'll give you the other one.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Mylum?
And to that regard, which I wasn't really going to comment on, but I guess you could just change it to no commissioner will be paid to be on this committee specifically, right? But my question is more regarding memberships, and I kind of emailed you earlier on it, but then I never finished my conversation with you. So, seems that the membership qualifications are very different, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. And I guess specifically, what I'm referring to is some of them list that city council members and staff and or attorneys, and some don't, even if there are staff or attorneys present. And so I'm just wondering if they should all be the same, or if there's a reason, maybe there is a reason why it's not listed on certain, like, for example, the Arts Commission. I'll just give you a clear example. On the Arts Commission, it doesn't say anything about staff or legal. However, staff and legal are present at every meeting. And so I don't know if it was maybe just not a requirement, and that's why it's not in here, or if it needs to be added, because some of them do specifically list out staff and legal. So I just think they should all either be the same or.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Mylum, so I think some of it's probably, and again, we can go through it and make sure it's the same, consistent throughout, because I agree with you, that's the point of what we're trying to accomplish. When I got here 11 years ago, we didn't have staff, any commissions except planning and zoning. And I think it's important that we have legal representation at every commission. So we do have legal staff there. Some of them have staff dedicated to them, like the Planning and Zoning Commission or Transportation. Some of them have staff and it's in the ordinance, and some have staff that have either over time have felt there's a need, like the Arts Commission, to have staff people to assist them with whatever they need. So we can add it in if you would like, and that way it's consistent throughout. All of the commissions will always have legal staff present, and they'll always have some. That's why I use it in the budget section. Well, we can certainly put it in the membership that there's staff that they're to provide support. I think the only one currently that has staff on the commission is the Solid Waste Commission, and there are staff and council members listed as ex officio members for the Transportation Commission. But we can certainly make that consistent throughout if that's your desire. I mean, again, we're trying to be consistent, so that certainly makes sense.
Yeah, I think that if they are going to be there, then it should probably be in there, and either whether it's on the membership section or in the general section, if it's going to be, if it is going to be the same with everyone, you could put, there could be just a section in the beginning that says each commission will have a council person serving as ex officio, non-voting member, or it could be in the membership. I don't know what's better for that. I just think that one, and also it was the Historical Preservation Commission had nothing listed on it, so.
If it's all right with you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Mylum, I think you've hit it right. I think the general section makes the most sense because it is going to be the same throughout, and so we will include staff, council liaison, and legal staff that will be present as part of that. And again, the staff can vary obviously by need, but we can list that in the general section if you'd like. So.
For me.
Go ahead.
Kavner?
Madam Mayor, Bill, maybe you can refresh my recollection. HPC doesn't currently have a member of council that serves ex officio. Well, then I stand corrected. And my apologies to Councilman Borton.
Apology accepted.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions, concerns, additions you'd like to see happen?
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor.
Mr.
Bill,
Borton?
I should have mentioned it earlier and I didn't. And I can give you some suggestion. Looking at like 2.2.6, the budget paragraph. I get a sense of what's intended there, but, you know, it's one sentence without punctuation and it's just the opening caught me. Right, the budget for the Arts Commission with approval of the governing board, the commission may receive an it doesn't actually say what I think it intends to say. You know, for example, I read that
Is the longest sentence.
as though it should say, using this one as an example, the Arts Commission, comma, with approval of the governing board, may receive and expend funds, yada, 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 and if, before the next time, that can be broken into a few sentences and claimed. Just as written, it doesn't
Gosh, at least put
make
it
as
semi.
much sense as it could.
Madam Member, as a
Oh, you got
council,
it,
I will certainly clean up the language. I actually stole it from the Idaho Code because that's the way it's written for planning and
That's
zoning
not a good
commissions.
idea.
So I will clean that up and before we bring it back.
Makes sense now that you explained that, Brent.
Budget, it's
Okay, anything further?
Madam Mayor.
Mr.
One more,
Kavner?
sorry. 2.11, number 8, regarding termination. I've been sitting here going back and forth, and I guess I've thought of a scenario in which a member quits attending in August, and they're not necessarily terminated until June of the following year. So if they quit attending in August of 2015, it wouldn't be until June of 2016 that they would be automatically terminated. So I don't know if there's any thought of either changing that to maybe 3 successive meetings or 6 successive meetings or consecutive meetings, or 6 meetings in a 12-month period. When it says 1/2 the meetings that are held in a calendar year. I don't know if this is a problem that's in need of a solution or if I'm a solution looking for a problem, but just
It is a problem.
envisioning a scenario where if we're talking about an automatic termination,
Yeah.
it's because we've got someone who isn't attending and make it more easier for that to happen automatically.
I guess I would just answer that it hasn't been a problem in these recent years, but it has certainly been a challenge in the past. So I think adding some further clarity on exactly what that means would be important, so it is without question. Okay, so we will bring this back. If you have anything further, please feel free to contact Bill and so 9A is ordinance 15-1663. I'm glad to see these numbers haven't changed. Madam Clerk, will you read this by title only?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian Ordinance Number 15-1663, an ordinance amending Meridian City Code as codified at Title 11, entitled the Unified Development Code of the Meridian City Code pertaining to drive-through establishments as a conditional use in the OT zoning district, and a modification to the associated specific use standards listed in Unified Development Code 11-2D2, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules and providing an effective date.
You've heard this ordinance by title only. Is there anyone who would like to hear it read in its entirety? Sure would be really interesting.
Madam Mayor, seeing none.
Ms.
Or anybody
Nyland.
decides to raise their hand. I move that we approve ordinance 15-1663 with suspension of rules.
Have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance 9A. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 10 is future agenda items for consideration. Anything under this item? Thank you.
Madam
And-
Mayor, I
Yes,
just wanted to
Mr.
comment
Zaremba.
that the people that are here for civics classes and merit badges are getting off easy tonight.
Yeah.
Yes and no. This is a shorter meeting than normal, but certainly the topics weren't all that
Entertaining.
riveting. So
Exhilarating.
I would say you've earned it in a shorter amount of time. So congratulations. Council, I would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we go into executive session as per Idaho State Code 74206, 1D, 1F.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Madam Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
All right, let's do it.
You don't have